Hello and welcome back to another edition of When in Vietnam. We will bring you interesting stories about how Vietnam nurtures some expats' love for fashion and art. In the Greet and Meet segment, let's learn the story behind a fashion and eco-label founded by a French Vietnamese who not only makes a conscious effort to limit negative effects on the planet, but also preserves the traditional and unique aspects of Vietnamese culture through the language of fashion. Later in the segment, we will meet a Spanish ceramicist who found his love in pottery when he arrived in Vietnam 10 years ago. Last but not least, in Local Buzz, we discover a mosaic-making workshop which allows youngsters to create pieces of art in just a few hours. Before our journey starts, let's get to know our host.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn, mình tên là Mika Chu, mình là MC, người dẫn chương trình tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh của chúng ta. Mika làm việc trong lĩnh vực giải trí tại thành phố Hồ Chí Minh 6 năm rồi. Và Mika sinh ra ở Nga và lớn lên ở Pháp. Và thật ra sau 6 năm ở Việt Nam, Mika cũng đã trở thành một chút xíu như người Việt Nam. Cái thời gian Covid, Mika đã suy nghĩ, Mika đã tự hỏi rất nhiều câu hỏi. Câu hỏi là mình có muốn sống ở Việt Nam, tương lai của mình có phải ở Việt Nam. Và sau thời gian này thì Mika biết rõ ràng Mika muốn sống ở đây, Mika muốn tiếp tục phát triển bản thân mình, công việc và có những dự khác nhau nữa. Sau 6 năm ở Việt Nam, Mika đã trở thành một người tốt hơn, giỏi hơn. Và cái đam mê của mình mạnh hơn. Mình cảm thấy ở đây cái gì cũng possible. Nói chung là thành phố của chúng ta và cả nước Việt Nam phát triển rất là nhanh. Và mình cảm thấy rất là may mắn bởi vì mình đang phát triển cùng Việt Nam. Cho nên người nào cũng muốn đến Việt Nam thì cứ đến thoải mái và cứ try, just try it. You're gonna love it.
Metasecco took its first steps in 2011 in the central Vietnam coast town of Hoi An. Founded by Erwan Perzo, a French Vietnamese, the story behind the Metasecco fashion and eco-label is a tapestry of culture, beauty, and heart.
Em chào anh.
Chào em.
Bonjour. Erwan. Can you tell us a little bit more about Metasecco brand?
Metasecco is high-end and creative and ethical ready-to-wear clothing brand. We masters in textile design. We will create unique patterns and prints that have strong inspirations from Vietnam. And we will try as much as possible working with locally produced fabrics. I created Metasecco at my image, if I may say. I am half Vietnamese and half French. And growing up in France, I was always the Asian boy, but living in Vietnam, I'm always the foreigner. So I wanted to create something that reflected my values, but also myself. The word métis in French means a cultural mix. So Metasecco is at the crossroads between East and West. We will have strong inspiration of Vietnamese culture, the Vietnamese folklore and landscapes.
These days, Vietnam is beginning to see more campaigns which aim to raise public awareness around environmental issues in every industry. As Vietnam ranks among the top textile exporters in the world, what is most remarkable is the role that Vietnam's apparel industry has played in eco-friendly practices. For Metasecco, sustainability and ethics are ingrained in Metasecco's business DNA. At every step, it consciously tries to limit negative effects on the planet and its staff. Designers have initially opted for non-toxic dyes and partnered with ethical textile printers. Instead of throwing away fabric scraps, designers use them to make scarves, hair ties, and face masks. Garments that can't be sold are sent to Metasecco's workshop and repurposed into clever, zero-waste goods.
I know Metasecco has been around for 12 years.
Yes.
What inspired you to start a sustainable fashion brand?
Sustainability part is very important to me. 12 years ago, when we were talking about organic cotton, the word hooker, in Vietnamese, didn't make sense a lot. Not a lot of people would understand what organic meant at that time. 12 years after, we are now seeing that a lot of Vietnamese people are really into sustainability, and it's really nice to witness that as a brand. It was about creating a brand that is proudly made in Vietnam. We wanted to show that it was feasible for a medium enterprise to do everything ethically and to control the supply chain on social and environmental responsibility.
So as a pioneer in the sustainable fashion in Vietnam, what are the challenges that you have faced in the past and still facing now?
The main issue when you are a sustainable brand that is like a medium size or a small size is to be able to have 100% sustainable supply chain. We used to stock our garment in those poly bags, and we have been trying to find a solution, a local solution for those poly bags to be compostable and biodegradable, and we haven't found any suppliers in the last 10 years. It's only the last year that we've been able to find a supplier in Vietnam that produce compostable and biodegradable packaging bags so that we could stock our garment without having any risk of the humidity going inside the packaging.
You try your best.
Yes.
That's the most important.
Yeah. As long as you try to go forward and find solutions step by step, that's the main focus here.
Khoi is a collection inspired by Vietnamese words meaning root or origin. The Song collection uses elements found in legends that are retold in traditional folk paintings. And their latest collection, Vertical Hanoi, was inspired by the subtle, bewitching charm of Vietnam's capital city. Old yet modern, elegant yet noisy, alluring yet hectic. With this new collection, Metasecco integrated traditional Vietnamese lacquer silk, Lang Mi A, for the first time. The queen of all silk was a rare fabric once reserved for ladies of wealthy and noble families.
After listening to Aaron, I have a specific question. How to explain the success of Metasecco throughout these 12 years?
Well, we work with very talented designers, textile designers, and we are very special in the way that we defend local craftsmanship. For example, in our latest collection, Vertical Hanoi, we've been using lụa, Lan Mia, which is silk used to be worn by the nobles and royals in Vietnam. It's a silk that requires a 45 days of dyeing process. It's made in the Mekong Delta, and it's a silk that is dyed with a fruit that will give a natural black color to the silk. This silk almost died a few years ago. It was saved by a financial fund that invested in a 90-year-old person that still were doing this craft that almost died. And now this way of doing silk, Lan Mia, we call it the queen of silk, is now revived, and this is something that we want to showcase. So at Metasecco, we are trying also to bring to another level what Vietnamese craft is about and how high-end ancestral artisan can be.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is your vision for Metasecco in the next 5 and 10 years?
For Vietnam, we could be one of those brands that could represent Vietnam and that could be worn on an international level. If we continue being a cosmopolitan Vietnamese brand where we are making the culture of Vietnam shine abroad.
But that's what I wish you guys, it's to go as soon as possible to go conquer the world and show the world how amazing is craftsmanship in Vietnam, the art and all the vision. I think the world needs more people like you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for your time.
Thank you, Mika.
I wish a lot of success to you and Metasecco.
Merci.
Metasecco is not only one of Vietnam's first fashion boutiques committed to eco-friendliness. The founders' focus on showcasing and preserving Vietnamese heritage pairs exceptionally well with the traditional and unique aspects of Vietnamese culture interpreted through the language of fashion. Finding his love of ceramics after arriving in Vietnam. Creating pieces of art inspired by Vietnamese culture. Handcrafting each piece without the use of molds or electrical machinery.
My name is Leandro Marcelino, and I'm coming from Spain. I arrived to Vietnam about 10 years ago. And I started making ceramics 10 years ago as well.
Leandro's main joy is bringing nature and craft together to create utensils that shine a light on their utility and the objects themselves. In 2015, he created Hey Camel Ceramics in Ho Chi Minh City, a studio aiming to find new ways of craft making while conserving old traditions.
When I first arrived here, I studied ceramics with a Japanese master. The influence about Asian culture, and especially Vietnamese, are very influent. You can really tell in my ceramics there is approach of Vietnamese culture, but also more Western. So I try to mix both. I use a lot of the objects that are used on traditional ceremonies. There is always a little candle holder, or to put the rice wine or the incense. So I get a lot of inspiration from those objects, and I try to make them a little bit more useful and with an artistic approach. 100% of the products and the materials that we use are coming from Vietnam. The clay, we custom made it in a factory in Binh Duen or Binh Hoa. We have different factories.
Leandro considers himself a craftsman instead of an artist because the difference between craft and art is intended use. His products are no exception to this principle. In ceramics, he finds a slow-living style which can give him an escape from the hustle and bustle of life. During a decade of practicing ceramics, what helps Leandro sharpen his skills?
Repetition and practicing every single day for 10 years. The reason why I started making ceramics is because it's a media where you can work in many ways. You can do sculpture, you can do dishware. You have many options to work with the clay. So it's a media that is very moldable. I really like Saigon. It's a wonderful city. There is a lot of artwork, a lot of artists. There's a lot of freedom with the galleries.
Oh la la, today is my first time ever trying pottery, ceramic. So Leandro, please go easy on me.
For sure, it's gonna be very fun.
Why do we have some paper actually?
All right, so we're gonna start by sketching. Mm-hmm. My style is that we're gonna make organic shape. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna give it different textures. You have here different textures.
I will have something like that?
Yeah,
by myself?
at the end of the class.
Oh my God, wow. All right, I'm ready.
So we're gonna start for example, like this. To make sure that it has a nice body, a nice feet as well.
All right, my turn. I make it big. Looks like a glass, actually. Okay. It's interesting because I always thought that when we do pottery, you just start and you go, you know?
You should think about it before.
Oh. That's what you do every time you have a piece of
Always.
work. Wow.
I always design and then bring into the clay. Okay.
Yes.
So shall we go ahead?
Already? Okay.
Yeah?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it.
After sketching their designs, Leandro guides Mika on how to make pottery step by step. Compact the clay. Make it flat.
And on the side.
Pinch it slowly. Smooth the clay. Trim the clay. Scratch the surface. Smooth it. Coil the clay. Smooth the clay again. As Leandro says, ceramics is all about repetition. There is a rhythm and flow to clay. It can't be done all at once. Each step is simple, but requires meticulousness. The ceramic making process is as beautiful as the finished product, just as Leandro promises Mika.
It's gonna be very,
Yeah?
very fun. Slowly.
Mika seems to enjoy the process of making the bowl.
Same position. Perfect.
Oh, I just got a bowl. Very enjoyable, the whole process. So relaxing. This seems so pleasant to watch.
We're gonna decorate it with organic shape and texture. And in order to do that, we're gonna use some traditional porcelain from the north of Vietnam, from Hanoi. It's gonna be a little bit messy.
Okay.
And then give it a little bit of brush.
And you're doing it like it's going to remain like that?
Yeah, the point is to make something organic.
Okay.
Something that looks like it came from earth, something that it wasn't made by hand.
Oh.
But instead, from nature, you can give it a little bit more texture.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Usually when you start to make bowls like that, how many you do at one time?
I make from 1 to 100 or 200.
At a time?
Yeah.
Wow. How long does it take to make 100 cups like this?
I don't know, I haven't calculated, but a whole day maybe. But just the shape. Then the trimming will be the next day.
My hands and nails are so dirty, but I'm actually so happy for the experience, for the opportunity to do this with you, Leandro.
Yeah, glad that you like it.
It's really great. You guys should try. I think it's an amazing procedure, activity to really stress, to be more focused, and produce art by yourself.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Mình tên là Trần Phương Thảo và mình là một artist sáng tác các cái bức tranh với chất liệu mosaic. Cái chữ mosaic này nó là từ tiếng Latin. Cái nghệ thuật này mà tương đương ở mình đi thì nó là chữ khảm sành sứ. Thì cái nghệ thuật khảm sành sứ nó chính là nguồn gốc của mình. Khảm tức là gắn kết lên một cái bề mặt nào đó.
Mosaics have been a popular art form for centuries. Nowadays, many contemporary artists are reinventing this ancient art and pushing the boundaries with their choice of materials.
Cái nghệ thuật mosaic thực ra nó có một cái lịch sử rất lâu đời, xuất phát từ thời cổ đại cơ. Thì người ta đã ứng dụng cái chất liệu, cái kiểu ghép được những cái viên, những cái miếng mảnh ghép nhỏ này trong việc trang trí nhà cửa nói chung hay là trang trí những cái công trình công cộng. Tại sao cái nghệ thuật này nó được ứng dụng trong các cái không gian lớn? Bởi vì cái hiệu quả thẩm mỹ của nó, màu sắc nó tương phản, đường nét nó cũng rõ ràng, cho nên là nó được đưa vào trong những cái không gian rộng, cần gây ấn tượng, cần gây chú ý.
In recent years, mosaic-making workshops have become popular amongst young people who want to spend their free time making art in weekend craft classes. In this half-day workshop, Mika can learn how to cut, stick, and grout mosaic tiles and take home her handmade mosaic.
The most important step is to cut the different stones. So I have a lot of work to do. The smallest the stones, the more beautiful your image is going to be.
Cách đây 3 năm thì mình quyết định mở một cái cửa hàng nho nhỏ. Khi các bạn khách hàng tới thì có thấy những cái bức tranh nhỏ nhỏ làm về mosaic, thì các bạn thấy cái này lạ và các bạn ấy muốn được thử nghiệm, nên là mình hướng dẫn các bạn ấy. Và từ đó nó khởi nguồn ra cái bộ môn workshop mosaic. Cái nghệ thuật này nó đòi hỏi tính kiên nhẫn, cái tính tỉ mỉ, cũng cần sự khéo léo một chút. Vì môn này thì các bạn sẽ cần sử dụng một cái dụng cụ bấm và cắt ra những cái mảnh để từ đó các bạn ấy sẽ ghép. Cho nên là các bạn ấy sẽ cần hình dung xem nên là mình nên bấm các cái mảnh như thế nào và ghép ra làm sao.
Mình thấy là rất là thú vị, là tại vì là một cái bức tranh từ những cái mảnh vỡ của thủy tinh kim loại á, nên là rất là thú vị, và cái điều đó là cái điểm đặc biệt mà khiến mình đến đây để trải nghiệm thử.
Xã hội ngày nay thì mọi người bắt đầu tập trung vô cái mạng xã hội nhiều quá, mọi người thao tác trên máy tính, mọi người không có những cái hoạt động tay chân nhiều, cho nên là mình nghĩ là cái việc mà mọi người bắt đầu tìm đến một cái bộ môn mới, mọi người thư giãn, mọi người dùng cái đôi tay của mình để làm nên cái sản phẩm, và khi mà mọi người làm rồi mọi người có thể trực tiếp mang về luôn. Đó là cái điều mà thu hút cái bạn trẻ tới đây nhiều nhất.
I just put the last piece to my masterpiece. And after 3 hours, my hands have never been so dirty. My back hurt, but I feel amazing after creating this. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. I think it's an amazing activity to concentrate, to create something with your hands, and just to come back in childhood. This can go in a museum, right?
Mình đang có một cái mong muốn là tạo ra những cái tác phẩm nghệ thuật mà có thể phối hợp được ngôn ngữ phương Tây và ngôn ngữ của Việt Nam, nó hiện đại nhưng mà vẫn lưu giữ được cái nét truyền thống và cái nét văn hóa Việt của mình ở trong các cái tác phẩm.
And that wraps up this edition of When in Vietnam. We will be back with more stories from the cultural scene. Thank you and bye for now.
We like to try with another texture maybe?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.